From Ranas to democracy, Nepal's struggle against foreign intervention. Every nation faces two types of challenges, internal and external. For some nations, external challenges such as geopolitical pressures, foreign influence, or border conflicts become the primary problem, while internal issues being secondary. For others, internal challenges like political instability, economic crises, or social unrest are the primary focus, while external concerns play a lesser role. The balance between these depends on a country's geopolitical position, economic strength, and governance. Managing both effectively is essential for national stability and long-term prosperity. Understanding this balance helps nations prioritize their policies and resources accordingly. Primary problem: geopolitical sensitivity and external influence between the United States and China. Definition: Nepal's geopolitical sensitivity arises from its strategic location bordering Tibet, a region critical to China. The United States, as a global competitor to China, also sees Nepal as an important location for containing China's influence in the region. Nepal risks becoming a proxy battleground in this larger US-China rivalry. However, another critical player in Nepal's geopolitical landscape is India, which also plays a significant role in shaping Nepal's internal politics due to historical, cultural, and economic ties. Nature of the problem: geopolitical rivalry, US versus China. Nepal is caught between China, which seeks to maintain control over Tibet and secure its southern borders, and the United States, which aims to limit China's growing influence in the region. Both powers may use Nepal as a strategic outpost in their global competition. India's influence. India has historically held strong influence in Nepal's political and economic affairs due to their open border, deep cultural ties, and shared history. Indian foreign policy has often been designed to maintain influence in Nepal, particularly to counter Chinese influence. India has long seen Nepal as a buffer state and may actively support political factions or policies that align with its strategic interests. Complex triangular dynamics: Nepal must navigate this US-China rivalry, while also balancing the influence of India, which maintains its own strategic interests in the region. This triangular dynamic complicates Nepal's ability to adopt an independent foreign policy and maintain internal stability. Key point: the primary problem is Nepal's geopolitical sensitivity due to its location near Tibet and its place in the US-China rivalry, with India playing a critical role in shaping its internal and foreign policies. All three powers, China, the US, and India, exert influence over Nepal, making it difficult for the country to maintain neutrality and political stability. Secondary problem: current state of turmoil in Nepal. Definition: Nepal's current state of political turmoil, marked by frequent government changes, political infighting, and social unrest, is a secondary problem resulting from the geopolitical pressures imposed by the US-China rivalry and India's historical influence. Nature of the problem: political instability. Nepal's internal political factions are influenced by the larger US-China rivalry, with some factions aligning with one external power over the other. Meanwhile, India remains an influential player in Nepal's domestic affairs, ensuring that pro-India factions maintain a foothold in governance. Social and economic challenges. The geopolitical competition for influence creates economic volatility and delayed development projects. Nepal's economic dependency on China, India, and the US leaves it vulnerable to policy swings based on which external power is dominant at any given time. Proxy conflicts and fragmentation. Political groups within Nepal may receive backing from either the US, China, or India, leading to political fragmentation and turmoil. This situation reduces the government's ability to focus on long-term domestic issues, as it is constantly managing external pressure and internal instability. Key point: the secondary problem, Nepal's internal turmoil, is a direct consequence of these external pressures. Nepal's fragmented politics and social unrest are symptoms of the broader geopolitical struggle between China, the US, and India, as each power seeks to maintain influence within the country. How the primary problem leads to the secondary problem: geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China. The United States views Nepal as strategically important in its efforts to counter China's influence, particularly given Nepal's proximity to Tibet. China, on the other hand, aims to ensure that Nepal remains in its sphere of influence, especially regarding issues like Tibet and regional security. This competition exacerbates Nepal's political divisions. India's historical influence. India has been involved in Nepalese politics for decades, largely due to their shared border and intertwined cultural and economic ties. India's foreign policy often focuses on maintaining a pro-India government in Nepal to prevent Chinese dominance in the region. As China increases its influence, India responds by trying to preserve its strategic interests, further complicating Nepal's internal political landscape. Economic dependency and foreign influence. Nepal's reliance on foreign investment and aid from China, India, and the United States leaves its economy highly vulnerable to external pressures. Major projects such as China's Belt and Road Initiative compete with Indian and US-backed initiatives, leading to erratic economic policies and unfinished infrastructure projects. Proxy conflicts and internal fragmentation. The influence of the United States, China, and India creates an environment where internal political factions vie for power by aligning with one of these external players. This dynamic fosters a fragmented political system that struggles to achieve long-term governance and stability. For example, China's influence regarding Tibet and regional security. China has a vested interest in maintaining control over Tibet and ensuring that Nepal does not become a base for anti-China activities, such as supporting Tibetan separatism. China invests heavily in Nepal through diplomatic ties and economic infrastructure projects to strengthen its influence. US influence in countering China's rise. The United States sees Nepal as a critical player in its strategy to contain China's growing influence in Asia. Through aid, diplomatic ties, and cooperation, the US aims to develop a closer relationship with Nepal, pushing back against Chinese dominance in the region. India's historical influence. India has long played a key role in Nepalese politics, often working to ensure that the Nepalese government remains aligned with its strategic interests. The open border between the two countries allows for significant cultural and economic exchange, and India views Nepal as part of its broader sphere of influence in South Asia. India often acts to counterbalance Chinese influence in Nepal, supporting pro-India factions within the country. When viewed from the perspective of these factors, the complex interplay of geopolitical rivalry, historical influence, economic dependency, and proxy conflicts significantly contributes to Nepal's internal fragmentation and political instability. During the Rana rule period, in Nepal's history, the Rana family led an authoritative government. Their strong leadership style made it challenging for external influences to infiltrate or undermine their control. To uphold their power, the Ranas managed foreign relations, restricting connections and interactions with other countries. By following strict practices and maintaining a rigid hierarchy, the Ranas shielded Nepal from significant foreign interventions. However, these policies also hampered the nation's progress, as limited external involvement hindered its modernization efforts. In a monarchy setting, during the period when democracy coexisted with monarchy and power structures, splintered democratic factions were vulnerable to influence because of their robust political frameworks. Foreign entities found it easier to influence or manipulate these groups due to the often unclear loyalty within parties and the potential influence of financial support from their origins on political objectives. However, the monarchy posed a barrier to safeguarding security and upholding sovereign rights. The king's power and control over international affairs served as a shield against interference, as well as preventing external meddling. We are in the third stage of a functioning democracy. In today's democratic Nepal, the political scene has evolved to be more dynamic and dispersed, allowing external influences to sway decisions through various avenues. The absence of a figure of authority akin to the monarchy has created opportunities for foreign entities to infiltrate the system using diplomatic, economic, or secretive methods. Political factions are frequently at odds, and the country's reliance on aid or investments provides external powers with leverage over local policies. This susceptibility makes it easier for foreign actors to wield influence through control mechanisms. Solutions. If a government is largely controlled by external influences and benefiting from them, it becomes crucial for the people to find ways to disconnect or limit this external control. Here are several potential steps citizens could take to regain autonomy over their governance. 1. Public awareness and education. The first step is to raise awareness among the public about how external influences affect their government and nation. A well-informed citizenry is better equipped to demand change and hold their leaders accountable. 2. Recognize, respect, and support politicians who remain uncorrupted and committed to the nation's interests. These individuals play a crucial role in leading by example and resisting external pressures. 3. Strengthening civil society. Encouraging the growth of independent civil society organizations that advocate for national sovereignty and transparency can create a powerful counterbalance to external influences. 4. Constitutional reforms. Introducing or advocating for reforms in the Constitution that limit the influence of external actors on government policy can provide a long-term solution. 5. Diplomatic rebalancing. Advocating for more balanced foreign relations can help reduce the overwhelming influence of a single external power. Diplomatic efforts should focus on diversifying alliances. 6. Media independence. Free and independent media can play a crucial role in exposing external influences, fostering public debate, and increasing government transparency. Strengthening media independence from external or internal control is vital. 7. Grassroots movements. Social movements and peaceful protests can be effective in putting pressure on the government to reduce dependency on foreign actors and prioritize local needs. By combining these efforts, the people can slowly build a system that prioritizes national interests over external control, promoting a government that truly serves its citizens. Conclusion. In Nepal's history, external influence has shifted based on the political structure of the time. During the Rana regime, strong centralized power made it difficult for foreign powers to compromise the system. Under democracy with monarchy, while democratic parties were vulnerable to external manipulation, the monarchy acted as a barrier, protecting national security and sovereignty. In the era of complete democracy, the absence of a central authoritative figure has made Nepal more susceptible to external influence, as political fragmentation and dependency on foreign aid provide easy entry points for foreign control. Overall, Nepal's ability to resist external interference has weakened as political systems have become more decentralized, making it crucial for the nation to strengthen internal unity and resilience against foreign pressures.